The words there of our very own Matt Flusk, who was down at Molineux. A big thank you to Matt, who was down at the game today and joining me now on Instant Match Reaction for Wolves 2, Everton 3. I've got Dave Downey and Rob Vera. Dave, if I come to you first, I mean, we'll talk more about the game as we go on, but a brilliant away win and another win in August for the Toffees.
It's hard to feel this way, isn't it? It's hard to remember what this felt like, not only because of the doldrums we've been in over the past few years, but also under David Moyes, where we've been notoriously bad for the first few games and haven't won one since, I can't remember who was telling me, we never won one since Crystal Palace in October. I think it was Les, when we were under Moyes. So, yeah, it's new territory to us for quite some time, isn't it? And, yeah, I mean, the game itself, I mean, there's a hell of a lot to break through there, isn't there? There's a hell of a lot to open up. But it was such a surprise to me that Everton looked quite clinical. They looked like they kept the ball well. They held the sort of there was a tempo about us today. I felt when we won it, we're going through midfields, we're playing it out wide, we're basically all over them as we move the ball forward, and it's such a refreshing thing to see because, in my opinion, for the last month or so, and I know Rob, I'm not to speak for him, but I've probably a similar view that we were lacking so many players. And let's face it, we're 3 days away and we still need numbers in. But to look at such a satisfying performance like that, certainly going forward anyway, and I will probably speak defensively as well. But on that side of things, Everton look like they can score goals. I mean, did you think you'd be able to say that even just before the season? Absolutely not. And we scored 5 in our first 3. Probably should have got one at Leeds as well. 1-2 in the first 3. That's a big start for us, that, and an away win as well. You know, it's the one thing I'd say on it though. It typically happens, doesn't it, when there's an international break? We hit a run of form, and then we're sitting there for 2 weeks waiting until we play again.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's get right into it, Rob. I mean, the reason we've won that game today is quite simply we've added quality to the side, and the 2 players today who I thought were magnificent. Obviously, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, who had that magnificent goal, but the man who's going to get all the headlines is Jack Grealish, and it was another wonderful performance from him, wasn't it?
Oh,
I'll tell you what, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you on that, Dave. I think we've just lost Rob temporarily and he'll be back. But yeah, Dave, I mean, just as I was saying there, as I put that to Rob, you were talking about the attacking intent and the way we now look like we've got a bit of a swagger going forward. And it's no surprise, is it, when you add quality players, you get quality in return. And that's what, I mean, the third goal for me typified that. Just what your thoughts really on the performances of Grealish and Kieran Dewsbury-Hall.
Yeah, I mean, we've just done a quick question on Twitter to say and ask what people thought of in terms of man of the match, and there's a few to choose from, and it's hard to disagree with the way in which Steve described who they've selected, and judging by it straight away, I think Dewsbury-Hall is the one that slightly edges ahead of Grealish, and the reason why I think that one is that he set such a high standard, hasn't he, throughout his career. He comes from a club like Manchester City, haven't won the absolute lot. I think his bar set higher to play a better to give more than what players aren't at that level. That's nothing against Dewsbury-Hall, because I thought he was magnificent in midfield. He was all over the place. He won the ball back so many times. He was looking to drive forward with it. Personally, I'd go for Dewsbury-Hall because I think Jack Grealish, to me, that's a performance you're going to get from him, hopefully. I think we will. He's knocking out like 8, 9 out of 10s, but when you look at him doing that, they're like 10 out of 10s for everybody else. So, yeah, I mean, like I said that word a couple of times, the tempo, but we win the ball, we get it out to him. And what I love about him, and I said this last week, he plays the game at his own pace. There isn't anything about him where he looks like he has to do something. That there's a necessity for him to do a particular thing because he puts it in his own head. I think when he gets the ball, he holds on it so much, and I think a lot of people will be frustrated by that. I know that many of our fans, when he doesn't produce, because there will be occasions like that. He's only a human being. That might well be something that is frustrating for us. But when he gets the ball, it holds play up so well. So you've got people diving into him. He's such quick feet to get past them. He'll lay it off. He'll move. He's just a magnificent player to watch. And then on the same, we haven't even mentioned his name yet. On the other side, you've got Ndiaye as well. Okay, he's probably going to be someone isn't mentioned as much because he's not the brand new player, is he? And him, there's such a balance there, I feel. And today we saw that those two on each wing, and Dewsbury Hall in the middle of them. That to me is something that you're hoping blossoms throughout the campaign. Striker, yeah, I mean we had Beto scored a goal, fair play to him. But those three there, and you've got a James Garner and just a Garner Gay there. There's so many players here that we won't fully do justice for, and that goes without saying how positive it was.
Yeah, Rob Vera's back with us. And Rob, I was just asking Dave basically the question I was asking you before about Grealish and Keane and Dewsbury Hall, bringing that quality and adding that quality. And I think if you look at the first two goals that we scored today, the first goal inside the first 7 minutes, I think it was, lovely build-up play. I thought it was a lovely team goal, but Grealish just had that insight just to head it back across goal, and Beto's there for the easy finish. And then for me, I thought the second goal was wonderful. The telepathy between the two. It was a lovely reverse pass by Grealish, and then Dewsbury Hall just doing something what I've not seen a lot of Everton players, or we haven't had the quality of Everton players do in the last few seasons, and that's just put a ball into a dangerous area. And Iliman and Jai's there to finish it off. Just talk to us about the two players, the impact and the quality of the Everton goals today.
Well, I think Matt Jones described it. I can't remember if this was online or in one of our chats, but I think he said that it's like seeing color for the first time. I think that there's such a stark difference in what we're watching. I almost don't even feel like I'm watching the same sport right now, as it pertains to Everton. But yeah, like I think that the main takeaway for me is that we've gone from a side where I don't know how many times we got onto these post matches and talked about the inability to string 3 or 4 passes together. And I found myself at times watching today just continuously keep possession of the ball, keep passes going. And to the point Dave made about Grealish and his ability to not be rushed, for our American listeners, it's very much to me kind of like some of the most elite basketball players who can't be, they can't, it's not about their speed, but they cannot be rushed into whatever position they want to get in. They stay cool, they maintain possession of the ball, and then they get the shot or they get the play that they want. I think what Grealish brings is this ability to play on a tightrope in a manner that we just have not had. And I think that when you look at the threesome of Kieran Dewsbury Hall, I call him KDH because it's such a mouthful, but KDH, Grealish, and Grealish and Njai, I think that the main difference is we spent so much of last season hoping that Njai would be able to sort of pull a rabbit out of a hat because it was sort of him and no one else up there that could really play at his level. Now, and my brother and I were watching the game today, and we were both talking about the idea that suddenly, instead of a guy being relied upon to sort of be your first, be the sole kind of creative option, now if Njai is your second or even third best, along with 2 other guys that can play at a similar level or a similar style from a technical, standpoint. Granted, Njai, I don't think is quite the passer those other 2 are, but he's still a very good technical footballer in terms of the use of his feet, obviously his scoring ability, and so you suddenly have this. To use a tired corporate word, the synergy between these guys that just feels like it has unlocked something that we just haven't seen before. With Grealish, the thing I'll say, guys, is that I said as much on Twitter earlier, but my big concern with Grealish was simply that the scenario, a guy who'd won everything, who is kind of coming down from a club like City. I'm not down, but you know what I mean. Coming from a club like City and winning titles and winning trophies. who suddenly was not playing as much the last couple of years. The production was down, and so I think I just thought, well, is the only real risk comes in, and he's not maybe as interested or as sharp. Absolutely blown away. Has absolutely blown away all of my expectations. If this is the Grealish that we're getting,
Rob, you just cut out a little bit there.
We're getting, guys. This totally changes the dynamic and the paradigm for Everton to the.
You've just cut out a little bit, Rob. I'll move on, and hopefully Rob can get his connection back. Dave, just for me as well again today.
See if that helps at all. Does this help at all?
That's helped a little bit. Yeah, I'll come back to you, Rob, in a second. Yeah, camera look. I think it's better with the camera off. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I'll come back to you, Dave. And for me as well, I mean, look, there's lots of positives to talk, and we were about today, and we will talk a little bit about defensively because we did concede 2 goals. But I want to stay positive. I want to be positive about it because I just feel that's such a real significant win for Everton. And I tweeted earlier that rightly so today that Grealish and KDH will get the headlines and get the plaudits. But for me, I think that's a brilliant, outstanding, incredible performance again from James Garner. I've not been James Garner's biggest fan in the past. I've often accused him of not taking the game by the scruff of the neck, not being a dynamic enough midfielder, only showing it in fits and spurts. And this lad, at the start of the season, he's been asked to play left back to begin with. A central midfielder with a right foot, asking to, being asked to do that job. And then he's coming to the middle of the park today, and I just thought he was everywhere. I thought his passing was on point, his tracking back, his tackling, he was tenacious, and I just thought he looked like a real proper midfielder today. How do you assess his performance, and how do you assess the start of the season as well?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to take him in the context of what he's been like since he joined us. Now, here we were signing a really talented player. I mean, I spoke to a lot of colleagues who are Forest fans, and they were desperate to keep him. Because he was a talisman for them before they came up. They were desperate to keep hold of him, and we went and got him for how much is a reasonable price that we got him for? It was around 15 million, was it, at the time when we got him in?
I think around that, yeah.
Yeah, around that fee, and he has saying he had, like he hasn't anymore, but he has the ability to be a box-to-box midfield player. He's got a lot more than I think we've seen. And today there was that started to come out. He was starting to express himself a bit more when he had the ball. He was loving getting involved in a challenge. What pleased me the most about it, Warren, was the fact that you've got Idrissa Gana Gueye in there doing so much work, probably too much work, that he has to do. It's a necessity that he's there to do it. If you've got James Garner to meet him there and get to a similar sort of balance in that defensive midfield role, then that just takes a hell of a lot of pressure on what is behind us in terms of defensively and at the fullback areas where we still have those issues of fullback. I think O'Brien, I've started to feel a little bit sorry for him now, even though he's being perfectly competent at right back. It's not his position. He doesn't want to play there, I would think. And then you've got Michalenko, who, aside from that one season he had where he was brilliant, and I think he got one of our Player of the Year awards, didn't he? He's obviously been injured. Doesn't look to me like he's going to be the long-term left back, but I don't think he should be the long-term left back. By all means, be a squad player, but I think the limitations we saw quite a bit today, certainly in the second half. Wolves were targeting that side of it, but with that trio, when we were speaking about Dewsbury Hall there at the start of the post-match, I feel as if when you've got James Garner there, somebody who can link up play, somebody who can get somebody the ball on the half turn and get them to drive forward. I think Garner can do that as well. I think Moyes sees a player in that's trustworthy. I think we've seen that. Obviously, he's had to play left back. I keep saying at the time, he's a right-footed midfielder playing left back. Let's put a bit of positivity to his name for having to do that. And he was really good against Leeds when he did that. I think that tenacity is the word you referred to there. I think that's exactly what he is. He's not going to give up easily. He's not going to give up position easily if there's somebody else to come in and take over, or Moyes maybe looks at somebody else to play in that role. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a trustworthy player for us now, and he's done well. And there's a certain one of our gang who probably won't let me praise him as much as I have. I won't say his name, but yeah, I mean, he was essentially everywhere today. So much like the rest of the midfield players, and it was the complete performance. I think, like you said, the Grealish and Dewsbury Hall will get the plaudits there, and rightly so, because they spearheaded that victory, I think. But you've got so many other facets to that performance that I think that it was a team performance to go and win that, and I think you have to do it. You're playing away from home. You're playing against a side that, I mean, I thoroughly expect them to be in a relegation fight, but nonetheless, that makes it probably all the more difficult when you go in there and they try and route one balls, and that's when you see Michael Keane. And I don't know if Rob's back on there yet, but I'm praising Michael Keane before he does. You've got him. Tarkovsky was the weakest of the bunch, in my opinion, but let's not dwell on that when you've gone and got 3 points away from home. There were plenty. Many positive. Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, look, it's an incredible performance, I think in the sense of that's a game that I feel down the years we've not gone and won. I know we had a great record towards the end of last season under Moyes away from home, but that's a game down the years we've not gone and won. And in all honesty, Rob, it should have been more comfortable than it was. And to have a slight negative on the day, I think, Everton are renowned for being quite decent defensively. We had a really good defensive record last year, but there's just a couple of little mistakes creeping in here and there, which are costing us a little bit and conceding goals. And I think the 2 goals today were just a little bit of lapse in concentration. And look, I like Mykolenko, but I think I agree with Dave in the sense that long term, we probably need a bit better quality in there. We talked about adding quality further up the pitch. I think if we can add quality in future transfer windows at the back, then we're looking like we've got a really solid squad and a really solid team. But I think that the little bit of naivety and the little bit of lapse in concentration cost us and could have cost us today, didn't it? And I know, obviously, we joke with you about Michael Keane, but I think the defence as a whole today probably wasn't. They were decent, but they weren't as strong as maybe they could have been, and that's where maybe something we need to look at in future games, tightening things up.
I love that you guys have come to me for the negative part of the game.
You were just next. You were next in turn to speak to.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
I know. I played myself by having bad Wi-Fi earlier. Hopefully, you guys can hear me better now.
Much better.
Here's what I would say. I mean, first of all, it's one of those games where I think the overwhelming focus should rightly be on the result and the fact that when you score goals, I'm not saying anything revolutionary here, but you score 3 goals, you've got margin for error. And I think that, the defensive errors in the past that have really killed us have generally been coupled with an attack that has been so incapable of squeezing out more than a goal or two, that every mistake feels like the end of the world, right? Honestly, my feeling today generally was that defensively, we looked fine for long stretches of the game. It's just that when we did have lapses, boy, we had lapses. The first goal was weird because, and Patty pointed this out online, especially in the first half, our center halves were getting, kind of pulled out of position. Michael Keane goes out to the right wing to try to cover there. I don't want to. I know that you'll be shocked for me to say this. I don't want to be too hard on him because he's not a fullback, but he gets out there and let's be. I watched the goal multiple times. I had the broadcast on. He didn't really close down the cross very well, but the bigger error obviously was on Tarkovsky just letting a free runner into the box. I mean, neither of them were great, but Keane, that was Keane's first real slight error of the entire campaign. So I don't want to be too hard on him there. The second goal, again, Mykolenko is primarily responsible responsible there. I did, and again, I think I'll be interested in seeing what you guys think when you've gone back and watched the second goal maybe a few more times. I thought Keane was watching the ball a little bit there too. I don't think he closed down particularly strong, but again, I don't really blame. Like again, I know my brand is that I'm the Keane basher here, but what I would say to your point, Warren, about what we're looking at defensively right now is more of the domino effect of not addressing the right back position and the fullback position in general. When you have no real right back option that you can deploy on a consistent basis, you're then forced to take your ostensibly third center half and put him at right back, bring Michael Keane in. And Keane's played pretty well overall to start the season. But I also think that I think it is a fair statement to say that Keane and Tarkovsky have never really been a great partnership. They just haven't. And again, if center halves are partnerships, I think that that's something you can say. What I will say is that the bigger issue for me is that James Tarkovsky has had a very poor start to the season. And I would also say that while he closed last season relatively strong and it made a lot of us forget about it, I remember long stretches of last season where we were all kind of saying, God, Tarkovsky has just got a lot of mistakes in him, some rash plays, being out of position, just things that are very un-James Tarkovsky-like, if you will. But again, guys, I think that, and I don't know why we seem to be so. I don't know if it's an issue of looking at the right back position and feeling like we just have to get this perfect. Whereas to me, you know, go out and sign, a 6.5 out of 7 standard under 30 guy, just who's average at right back, and address a more audacious move for one later, maybe. But not having a functioning right back has a domino effect that has not affected us, has not really punished us much yet. But I do worry about what that means as we move forward, especially as the competition gets more difficult. Now, guys, the big thing here is that we have won 2 Premier League games in August. Years have gone by without us winning any August matches in the league, so I want to focus really on that. But I would say that
Of
we have
course,
been in positions
you're
where
absolutely right.
we've been in positions where we've had these easy fixture lists to start the season, but we've not been able to take advantage of it. We're doing it right now because we have goals in this side. Now we need to. I would love to see us make a move and just plug 1 or 2 more holes to end this window. And I think that we're going to set ourselves up for more success from that point forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. And I think I do want to emphasize, because I know occasionally on this show, especially after a win like today, we get accused maybe of being a bit negative about things. And I don't think it's negativity on our part. I think it's just observation on what we saw today. And I think that if we can address a few of the issues like you've said there, Rob, I mean, it just makes us even better, because attacking wise, we are so good, looking so much better than we've done for a long time. And I'm going to come back to you, Rob, because I don't want to be accused of always handing you the negative. So I'm going to ask you for a positive, and I just want to talk purely about that third goal. I know we've talked about Grealish and KDH and the telepathy, but that is a goal that I don't think Everton have scored for a long time. It was quick, it was efficient, there was no thought process to it, it was instinct, and what a finish it was. And I thought at 3-1, I thought, well, that's the game over now. And it was so nice just to be able to see an away game where we do something like that. And I mean, I know Wolves came back with the second one, but in effect, that third goal killed them off, didn't it?
It did. That goal also gave me the special tingle. I don't know about you guys, but that was unlike any goal I've seen us score in a while. I mean, I was obviously in attendance for the Spurs game at home last season when there were some really nice goals there, and Jai and Calvert-Lewin, but you got the sense when you watched it today, and here's what's different, Warren, to your point. Not only was it a great goal, it was one of those goals where when you consider who was involved in it, there was nothing about it. While it was special, there was nothing about it that made me think, well, we're not going to see that again for a long time. Like it seems like this formula, now granted, that fitness is part of this, but this seems sustainable because what I think Kieran Dewsbury Hall has brought to this side. I mean, Grealish is Grealish's positives are so obvious that even talking about him just feels almost too on the nose, right? But bringing someone like KDH in, who I think his value is, he's such a all around good technical footballer. I think he's someone that is a really good, what I would refer to as a connector, the guy who makes the right pass before the key pass or before the assist. We talked about we've lamented over Everton's inability to, hold on to the ball or string multiple passes together. KDH is the one for me that really kind of keeps things going, keeps possession going just that little bit longer. And what is most exciting to me, guys, is that we're seeing this in the third league game of the season, and these guys really don't know each other yet in terms of the chemistry that you develop playing with one another. I am so excited to see what Jack Grealish looks like with KDH and Njai. And look, at some point you'll begin spoon feeding Tyler Dibbling into this mix a little bit more.
Oh,
I think that Alcaraz showed in midweek that he is someone that can be brought in strategically or can play and still be effective and score. For this thing. So suddenly you look at this squad and you think, hey, for the first time in a while, you're not really worried about where chance creation is going to come from. You're not really, even without the strikers having scored a bunch. And again, it's kind of a weird thing because the strikers, Beto's goal was great today, but the strikers have not like had all these chances that they haven't scored on. It's just that we've been getting goals from other places so far. But I think that you're going to start to see these guys as they get to know each other and play with one another more. You're going to start to see a more, this attack becomes something that it starts to feel a little less like we're seeing something out of the middle of, that's like a thunderbolt, and where's this come from, and we'll never see this again. Like, it does feel, and I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself, but this does feel somewhat sustainable. Again, we're going to be playing much tougher sides than what we've played so far, coming up. But man, I don't know how you can watch this today and not have some genuine excitement. Again, address a couple of the things defensively. Obviously, get your best center half back. And I think there's a real platform to where I was thinking going into the season, given, even before we signed maybe the last couple of guys, that, probably 10th. I'm thinking maybe 10th, 11th now. I think there's a real possibility to push for a European spot if we can maintain some fitness here, if we can get some guys back. It's really exciting, and that's my overwhelming takeaway today, guys, is that today looked like something that was not just a one-off, and it did look like something that can be sustained.
I'm listening to you there, Rob, and I'm just smiling ear to ear because it's just so refreshing to, after everything we've been through the last few years, it's so refreshing to see a performance like that, and a team that looks good on the eye as well. All the trials and tribulations we had with Dyche and the style of football he employed, and a lot of that he had to employ because the squad we had and the things that were enforced on him, and some of the football we've seen down the years, and just to see that today it's really warming on the heart. And look, let's get carried away. I mean, we haven't been able to get carried away for a long time. We've got 2 wins in August, which we haven't done for a long time. I think we're currently sitting 5th as things stand, and we go into this international break with a lot of confidence, and I'm already looking forward to that Villa game. I cannot wait for that, and it's great to be able to look forward to going to watch Everton again. Just a couple of nice touches I've noticed online today. So firstly, it was David Moyes' 542nd game in charge today, so he's equalled Howard Kendall's record as games as Everton manager, and obviously that's great to get a win equaling Howard Kendall's record. And another little thing I noticed, Dave, as well, was Erling Haaland. I don't know if you've seen this. He sent a Snapchat message which has gone a bit viral. He said Jack De Bruyne does it again for Everton, obviously referring to Grealish. So it's just all positive and everything's all great. And listen, we've got that international break now, Dave, as I mentioned, and the deadline shuts, the transfer deadline window shuts on Monday. And I think we're all hoping that we can address a couple of the issues that Rob has mentioned. But I mean, it's nice to go into, I know you were commenting earlier saying ideally we want a game as soon as possible to carry on this, but I think this now 2 weeks just gives us that chance to get maybe 1 or 2 extra in. David Moyes to maybe work and have a bit extra time to work with the players who aren't on international duty, and it just sets us up nicely for September, doesn't it? Which is a real bonus, which we've not been able to say. Normally in September, we're under pressure and we're searching for that first win. Now we can all go into that Villa game, the first game back after the international break, back at home, back at the new stadium, and everyone's going to be bouncing, aren't they?
Yeah, a couple of points you made there. I think you're talking about Monday there at the end of the transfer window. These last 2 wins, Brighton and Wolves now. And you're right, let's get carried away. Let's have a look at this and think, how negative, and it's typical for me to say it, isn't it? But when I was looking at this season, I thought it's going to be a while before we get this sort of a bit of a juggernaut going. To go and do what we have there is a bonus, in as much as it is a good couple of results for what we feel like now. But I'm not letting it deter from what we have to do business-wise in the next couple of days. For instance, had we lost those 2 matches that we've got and won, we'd be sat here saying what players we still needed. It's that final line, I think, that when you win a game, you're thinking, we've got that sorted now. Don't need to look at it again. Right back, left back, doesn't matter, because we've shown what we can do. But that's all well and good, I think, for the actual games when they're individual on their own. When you set them aside from what is actually needed, we still have work to do. And I'm still concerned at this point that we haven't done it to the point that you get to an international break. Because that's the time there where it was said at the start of the show here that momentum, Everton work best when they're doing that. David Moyes' sides are based on they would go through a run of winning games rather than going on like win, lose, draw, lose, win sort of thing. Moyes at his peak was Everton going on a 3, 4, 5 winning streak or winning and drawing games, and that's why I'm a bit gutted that we've got the to disagree with a little bit. That's why I'm a bit gutted that we've got the international break. But nonetheless, to contradict myself a little bit, I think that if we're able to go and get 1 or 2 faces in before that window closes, then you talk about that word momentum once again. That is where you're looking forward to the game even more. You're looking forward to lads who came in. You're looking forward to the lads that we've already got and seeing how well they link up already. I'm looking on Twitter there while you and Robert were talking, and people saying, look how well these players knit up with each other. Seeing like Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, everyone was on the same wavelength on that. These are things that we thought weren't going to happen so early, if at all. Let's be honest. I certainly wasn't. I mean, I'm fine to admit that I was completely wrong from what we've seen so far. To start the 3 games with 2 wins there, placing the next round, third round of the Carabao Cup, I think all of us would have bit anyone's hand off if they told us that was going to be the case. But yeah, I mean, just I'd re-emphasise there, go and get a couple in, and then you're looking at September, you think we can really go and attack this, and who knows? I mean, you look at what's going on in the league elsewhere. There's nobody who has seriously looked ridiculously good so far. Even City, I thought were fantastic on the first weekend. They went and got beat by Spurs. You're seeing a mix of results here that isn't normal. You're normally seeing teams run off, and yet we know Liverpool against Arsenal looked like they could go on and straight on to 9 points from 3 games. But with ourselves, it's a big step forward already, and I want it to stay that way. The thing that that I was most fond of under Moyes was Everton lived, us as Evertonians lived on how he shaped Everton in between games. I remember I'd go and see him every week, and he was a bit of an enigma because sometimes I'd go and see him and we'd win a match and he wouldn't speak much. Sometimes we'd have got battered and he'd talk to you all day long. He's a good manipulator of that sort of feeling, certainly inside what's going on behind closed doors at the club there. And that's why he works so successfully at Everton and got us into so many Europa League positions. I that's what bodes well for us here, I think, because he'll be emphasising that we've won those games there and we're still not fully cooked. We're still not in full 100% going forward with this. We still haven't got to sixth gear or anything like that yet. We're still here, sort of work in progress. I know that's probably a largely American word there, Rob, because a lot of Americans are you're work in progress. You're work in progress. That's essentially what we are at the moment. I feel as if we're that way. So to go back to what I said there, if we can get a face or two in, that bode us really, really well. You come back, play that Villa game at home, everyone's bouncing, with 100% winning records at the new stadium. You're looking ahead into that, and then look, you'd even put your eye towards a Merseyside derby and think Everton have got a bit of that weird momentum going into those games as well. So that's a massive win for us today. Regardless of the opposition, who I think have been poor. Everton to go away, Everton to get 3 points, Everton to do it in August. All things that we haven't done and all things that have been against us in seasons gone by.
Just before we wrap up, I know, Rob, you want to make a point about the window.
Yeah, I just, because I don't know how much chance here on these lovely Blue Room airwaves we're going to have to talk about the window before it shuts on Monday. I know that we may have some other chances to record, but I do want to say, in terms of kind of where things stand, I think that, to Dave's point, no one's under any delusions that we're any kind of finished product at this point. But I think what we can take away from what we've seen so far is that there's a lot to like here. And it doesn't feel particularly far away from being a super solid, highly competitive product for the remainder of the season, if we can address some needs that, when you're winning, don't necessarily feel as I don't know, as immediate or as pressing, I guess, as they do when you lose games, obviously. But what I would say is that this league, and Everton in particular, are truly a war of attrition kind of experience, season in and season out. There will be injuries. There will be lack of availability. For the reliance that we still have on Ghana Gay, to think about him being gone for a month right now scares the bejesus out of me. I won't lie. Saying all that, I think Garner has had an absolutely fabulous start to the season in a lot of ways, but I think that this thing still feels a midfielder short. The other thing that, again, we don't want to continue to harp on it too much, but I think that David Moyes said, and I think we've heard this a lot, we're not going to solve everything in one window, which I take the basic wisdom and logic of that. But what I would say is that, yeah, you can't necessarily solve everything in one window, but Dibbling was a big start in terms of taking the two longest standing needs here and trying to address them. They're just gigantic holes in the side. To me, I get the feeling, because of the lack of links, that there's this sort of resignation that, well, Jake O'Brien, who, by the way, I think is a really good player, and I want him out on the pitch. He's a really good defender, and he's faster than he looks, and he certainly can pass better than someone at his size normally can. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. I like him out there. Having said all of that, it takes one injury. When you have a center half playing right back, you are then not only susceptible in one position, but you become susceptible in two if anyone gets hurt on some level, right? So if Branthwaite is still out, and we don't know exactly when he's going to come back, but you would think after the international break he'll probably still need a little bit of time to ramp back up. Keane never gets hurt, so I don't really worry about that. But if you do have Tarkowski, get a hamstring, or you get Jake O'Brien hurt, what does this thing look like on the back line? It's pretty scary, guys. You're staring in the face of some really bad options. Is it Nathan Patterson, or is it Seamus Coleman? Seamus Coleman played great in midweek, but it's unfair to ask him at this stage of his career to play a lot of consecutive games at that position, given his fitness record and given his age. I just think that adding a real right back and gives you a lot more cover, so that if there is an injury at center half, you have Keane or O'Brien as depth options, as opposed to, a situation where you're just having to make a lot of bad choices. And look, if we've learned anything over the years, it's that Everton players get injured, and this is a very physical league. This is a long season. Hopefully, we have a nice cup run. I just would like us to. We've got loan spots. There are guys available for probably in the low double digits or even high single digit millions to bring in as a bog standard right back. I just don't understand the inability to get this one thing done. And I accept the fact that it may not get done, but to me, it's the most obvious thing that we could do that would provide us with, a much more reassured squad going into, the of the first half of this season. But look, all that said, guys, there's a lot to like here. There is a genuine excitement and a genuine feeling that I think the floor has been raised, the ceiling's been raised a little bit too, but I also think I don't look at anything about this, even with the current holes that we've got, and think that there's any relegation danger here at all. Now it's a question of, how high can we potentially get? And for that, I think that if we just address things in the right way, we don't wait till January and we don't wait till there's a fixture pile up to try and survive, that we put ourselves in a really good position moving forward. But I'm really excited. Today was not perfect, but it sure had a lot to make us all dare to dream a little bit, and that's what sport is ultimately all about.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to let myself get carried away because why not? I mean, it's been terrible for the last few years, so I'm going to let myself enjoy it. Just one last thing on Grealish before we do go. In the last 20 minutes or so, David Moyes has been quoted as saying that the biggest compliment I can say about Jack is that he's even better than I thought he was. And I think we can all echo that after watching the couple of performances that we've seen from him already. We'll wrap it up there. It's 3 wins in a week for the Toffees, and it's been a magnificent August. How often can we say that down the years? But it has. It's really been brilliant. It's been exciting. It's been a pleasure, really, to watch Everton in these last 3 games. And, we've got this international break, and I'm sure we all can't wait for the Villa game to come thick and fast. But even though it is international break, we've got loads coming up here on the Blue Room. The lads, are you doing Blue Monday or is it Toffee Tuesday this week with the deadline, Dave?
Yeah, I think we'll be having a discussion about that. We normally do something towards the end of deadline day, so there'll definitely be that. But in terms of Monday and byline, we'll sort of let you know and get out what schedule it's going to be at. But obviously, it'll probably be a bit different, especially if Everton go and get a player or two on the final day.
Yeah, definitely. And well, anyway, as our listeners know, and the ones who listen to us regularly know, the Blue Monday and the byline, that's the old 1-2 there. They'll be back, obviously, with the lads doing that this week. I'll be back with the weekly later this week as well. And then the mailbag with Les will be back. And all your other content that we do, subs weekly, everything else that we include on here on the Blue Room. But we will wrap it up as what has been a brilliant day and what has wrapped up another fantastic week to be an Evertonian. It's finished Wolves 2, Everton 3. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Enjoy the international break, and we all look forward to getting back to that stadium for Villa at home in a couple of weeks' time. We'll speak to you soon. Up the Toffees. What a win.